Hello and welcome to your circadian biology tutorial. In particular, we're going to be looking at light frequencies and how that drives all the processes in our body. We are meant to be in sync with Mother Nature, believe it or not. There's a reason why the sun rises at a certain time. We have these energy throughout the day and then we're meant to wind down and go to sleep. That is what's meant to happen. But because of our modern day lifestyle and everything that we're exposed to, all of that circadian rhythm is thrown out the window. So what we talk about, which is a very clever way of understanding it, is our eye clock. Our eye clock meaning that the eye and the skin can see the light frequencies that change throughout the day. We actually can't see specific frequencies, but the brain does know that there are certain temperatures, color temperatures that take place throughout the day, which will then change the processes throughout the body. So the eye clock, if we're thinking about this, then the eye clock controls every growth and metabolic process in the body. That is huge. So if we have sunglasses on the whole time or glasses that block certain frequencies, if we're all rugged up, if we're inside so much, we are missing the ability to allow the eye clock to drive all of our processes. It tells the pituitary gland, which is in the base of underneath the brain, basically right in there, to make and release hormones needed for optimum efficiency. And one of the most other important things is that this includes our DNA. So if we're missing our circadian rhythms and we've got a really screwed up eye clock that doesn't click properly, we're going to also filter all the way down to our DNA structures too, and that's going to also play some havoc. Now, one of the most important, topics that people are talking about and wanting to get under control is their sleep patterns. A lot of people struggle to sleep these days. Melatonin is produced via the eye in the morning. It is produced throughout the day too, but the most optimum time to produce your melatonin, which is your sleep hormone, is in the morning, in morning sunlight, direct sunlight. It is also produced in the gut, but most of it and the most powerhouse is going to begin in the eye. So melatonin is something that we're going to be talking about here, because when we start looking at the artificial blue light, so man-made blue light, we're going to see what that does to our melatonin. So it's very important then to understand that, okay, if I'm getting up early, before sunlight, the alarm goes off, I'm obviously turning my lights on, I'm exposed to artificial light. I'm either going to go straight to the gym, inside underneath artificial blue light, probably straight to work inside the whole time. So very rarely are you getting some of this natural light, but the natural changing light throughout the day, which is going to help you drive your processes, your circadian rhythms. So one of the other important things I'm going to quickly just go here as well is that the morning light does more than just set our processes up. It actually preps the skin for more harsh light or harsh sunlight later in the day, which is very important for people who maybe burn a lot quite easily, who are worried about sort of skin cancers and skin issues like that. The prepping of the skin is very important first thing in the morning. Now that's probably another whole video in itself, and we'll probably do that one, but just know that too, that okay, if I do want to have a day out on the beach somewhere, maybe I should get some morning sunlight just to prep and set up some defense for that harsh sunlight in the middle of the day. So when we're looking at all of the frequencies, the light frequencies, first thing in the morning, when we're looking at the blue light, now this is natural blue light, it is balanced with red, infrared light. Infrared, fantastic for us. It's very restorative for the body as well. And very, very balanced. As the day goes on, the blue light should obviously lift up. That's when it gets quite bright outside. Kelvin is one way, it's just a measuring units of light. So when we're looking in the morning, this blue line should close enough, the blue light frequencies that we have. So in the morning, you're looking at around 1800 Kelvin. As you can see through the day, it peaks right up to 57,000. Depends where you are in the world, basically. That'll change, obviously. And then it's meant to drop right back down to hopefully nothing at nighttime. We're not meant to see any blue light at all. In fact, when we look at over here with man-made blue light, us humans were not designed to see just blue light on its own. This doesn't happen in nature. It's always blended with something. Red light's in the morning, purples come through, and then it keeps changing as we go throughout the day, okay? Now, understanding that with the balance of the blue and the reds, what's fascinating is that 42% of sunlight is our near infrared sunlight. So again, that's why sunlight is fantastic for driving processes, but it's also fantastic for repairing rest and repair processes in the body as well. Now, one thing that I find very, very, very fascinating about the sun, and it took me a while to understand this, I used to travel a lot and never understood what was happening, but now I do understand it. And the reason what I'm getting at is that 2/3 of your energy in the cells, in the mitochondria, comes from sunlight. And only 1/3 comes from food. And what I'm getting at when I used to travel, if I would go somewhere warm and tropical, I would really rarely need to feel like I need to eat. I only have smaller meals and very few of them. And I felt good, I had lots of energy. I was outside more, I was up outside in the morning more, I had a lot more time outside and being a lot more active, so I didn't need that. Whereas when you're probably back, you're probably working, you're inside more, not getting enough light exposure, then you find you're going to be eating a lot more as well. So that's quite a fascinating little thing. Now, when we're looking at the light frequency throughout the day, a lot of people say, yes, you've got to get in the sun for your vitamin D, 100% right. But what is very, very important to know that there is only a small window, or a window, of which vitamin D can be produced or absorbed through the body. In the morning, from AM up until about sort of 10 AM, the reds and blues are balanced and there's very little ultraviolet light. When the purples start to click in, then we start to introduce some more of the ultraviolet A and B. And basically when those frequencies start to kick in there, it's like a little off switch to that gland we were talking about to go, okay, stop producing these ones, we've done that, we're ready for the day. Now the window opens up, hopefully we can start to absorb some vitamin D. Now there's a lot of processes again involved with the actual absorbing and utilizing of vitamin D, but if you want to make sure you are getting that window, there is an app called D-Minder, free app, where you just put in where you are in the world and it will actually let you know now's the best time to start obtaining your vitamin D intake for the day. So fantastic app for those who are suffering, all of us Melburnians and people who live in part of the world where we don't get enough sunlight or vitamin D. That is a beautiful app to use. This is the window we want to be operating in. As that frequency goes through the day, blue light should drop, infrared should stay up there, afternoon sun, that golden hour, fantastic just to be outside to start prepping the body, restoring the body, very, very important. But this is where we start to run into the issues, and this is what we're talking about, man-made blue light, okay? As I said before, not designed to see it on its own. What it mainly does, and let's just quickly talk about what is a man-made blue light. Well, TVs, phones, computers, LED lighting, one of the worst things that there is, anything that flickers brightly as well. So when you look at it around your house, you're flooded with man-made blue light. In particular, think about how much we're on our phones at night time, probably while you're laying in bed as well or watching TV as well. So they're the blue lights that we're talking about. Yeah, there's probably going to be a lot more coming from other places too, but they're the main ones. But check this out. The man-made blue light can destroy the melatonin production. That's what we're talking about, sleep hormones. So if you are getting heavy exposure to super bright blue lights, and let's just quickly understand that, solar noon, 57,000 Kelvin, your devices are outputting 4 times the amount of that natural thing. So it's quite bright for the human brain, and it actually thinks it's solar noon the whole time. So when you're trying to go to sleep and regulate, boom, it's very, very bright. It actually can destroy the DHA in the cell membranes, which is very, very important again for energy production, the whole cycle of energy. It will drive blood glucose through the roof. It will also drive insulin resistance. That's a massive one. That's a whole video in itself. Insulin resistance is just very, very important to wrap your head around. And those people who look at that who are suffering from anything from adrenal fatigue or the HPA axis, hypothyroidism, a lot of people actually have that or are suffering from that. Again, coming back to circadian rhythms. Okay, you pretty much put any disease or breakdown in the body, illness will basically translate back to some form of circadian disruption throughout the body. That's one of the most important things to do. And then when we look about the man-made blue light and you're having exposures to all this and what it's doing, obviously it's just driving the aging process very, very quickly. Infrared lights and red lights slow the aging process down. So a lot of people are probably going to rush out and get some infrared lights now, which is fantastic. So how do we deal with this? How do we make sure that our clock's good and our circadian rhythms are set? the most important and the easiest and the cheapest thing that you can do, it just needs a little bit of oomph to do it, is just get the morning sun. Every day, get up and try and get outside and see it. Yes, there's probably a lot of you guys that have to work early and all that sort of stuff. Just do what you can. Hopefully at some point you'll understand that your health is going to be very, very important down the track. So while yes, you might be exposed to this at the moment and you're not bursting into flames like a vampire, at some point down the track you may get to a point where you might developing some issues down the track. So understand this. It's one piece of the massive puzzle of health in your body. This is one of them. So morning sunlight expose the entire skin and eyes. Don't wear glasses. That blocks all the important frequency into that eye clock, the skin as well. So take as much clothes off as you can without getting arrested. And then make sure that you are grounding yourself at the same time. That means shoes off, on the grass or down by the beach, and move around. Get hands on the ground too. Complete the circuit. There's a bit of a loop circuit that's happening from the light down to the ground and grounding yourself. So we'll get that process. Block all man-made blue light as much as you can. Okay. Now, in particular, if you're someone that obviously has to work in front of computers all day, there's glasses you can get. The best glasses that I have is from Blue Blocks. They are a Aussie brand from Perth. Their frames are really good. That's what I like about it. They feel like really very, very sturdy frames. But more importantly, they have the right lens in it to block the frequencies that we want to block. That's very important. Then basically, if you are someone who has to work on their computer or have to be up at night time or at certain times, there are plenty of programs on your computers and phones that create basically a filter that block out those lights and stop the flickering of the screen as well. Or what you can do is just keep the nights at nighttime or your lights dim. So use candles, use lamps, even use salt lamps are actually not too bad as well. They're important too. The one good thing about turning all that off at nighttime, including your Wi-Fi, is that you're reducing as much of the non-native EMF. And that's just another topic that we will get to eventually. But morning sunlight, see if you can make that a bit of a goal for yourself. Get outside and get as much as you can. If you need something to get you out there, sign up to some form of training that is done outside, ideally on a beach or somewhere close to the beach, and ideally try and do it barefoot. It takes a little bit. That's another video again on bare feet training. But that's a basic, very, very brief understanding of the circadian biology, in particular light frequencies, and why we want to be careful of man-made blue light. Okay, so get to work on trying to solve or biohack your environment, because your environment is one of the biggest chunks of your process of staying healthy, losing weight, gaining muscle, whatever you want to do, that is part of it and it's one of the fundamentals. So I hope you liked that video. Feel free to send it off and share it with people who you feel might need this information and are not quite sure understanding why people are wearing these weird glasses the whole time. If you have any more questions, make sure you let us know. But I look forward to seeing you guys on the next video tutorial.